So in this video, we are going to see about the administration of the Britishers. So it starts with Warren Hastings, who was the Governor General of India, that is British India, from 1773 to 1785. So during this period, the administration of the British started to expand. So initially they were only trading, but from Warren Hastings' period only, the administration expanded, and also even the British power. So earlier we saw about war in Bengal. So from Bengal, even other regions were under the control of the British people. That is Bombay and Madras. Madras includes today's Tamil Nadu and part of Andhra Pradesh, Karnataka and Kerala also. So for administrative purpose, they divided their territories into presidencies. So 3 presidencies were there: Bengal, Madras and Bombay. And each presidency was under the control of or administration of the governor. And as we saw earlier, the Governor General post. So the Governor General is the ultimate head, supreme head of all the administration of the British in India. From 1772, a new system of justice system was established by the British people in India. So each district had 2 courts. One was a criminal court, which was called Faujdari Adalat, and it was under the Qazi and Mufti. So Qazi means a judge, and Mufti were Islamic or Muslim leaders, community leaders in every local areas who were interacting with the people, as well as they were interpreting the laws, and they were communicating the laws between the Qazi as well as the people. So they were assisting the Qazis, but they were of a higher power in the society. So these Qazis and Muftis, they continued because from the Mughal period, Qazis and Muftis were administering criminal courts. So even during the British people, the Qazis and Muftis were in the criminal courts. But they were supervised by the collectors, who were obviously the English or European officers. Next was the civil court. This was called Diwani Adalat. So this was also under the European district collectors only, but they were assisted by Maulvis and Hindu Pandits who interpreted, that is, who told what the Islamic related laws were. That is, the Maulvis told what the Islamic related laws were, as well as the Hindu related laws were given by the Hindu Pandits. So the district collector was assisted by the Maulvis and Hindu Pandits. So there was a problem in spite of this. The major problem was the Brahmin Pandits had been giving different interpretations of local laws. So in each region there were different laws based on different schools of philosophy of the Hindu laws, that is the Dharma Shastra. So this Dharma Shastra was written from 500 BC, that is 2500 years from the present. So based on this, there were different laws in different regions. For example, in Smriti we had Manusmriti, then Vishnu Smriti, Narada Smriti, Yajnavalkya Smriti. So when different laws were there in the Hindu belief, the administration of justice was difficult for the European collectors. So what they did was, in 1775, Pandits were asked to compile together a digest of the Hindu laws. So this was the time called a code of Gentoo laws. Gentoo was a name given to Hindus that time. So in the book it's given as 11 Pandits, but just remember, as Pandits were asked to compile together from different Dharma Shastras. And this was translated into English. So first it was translated from Sanskrit to Persian, then from Persian to English by N.B. Halhed. And in 1778, the Maulvis and the Islamic gurus, they were asked to compile together the Muslim laws. So this was called a code of Muslim laws or Anglo-Mohammedan laws that time. So these two, that is code of Hindu laws and also the code of Muslim laws, were done to assist or to help the European judges to deliver justice. Then another important happening this time was the enactment of Regulating Act of 1773. So this was very important because the administration of the British in terms of law started from here. And it was obviously from the British Parliament. And under this act, under the Regulating Act of 1773, a Supreme Court was set up in Calcutta, and there was also a Court of Appeal, and this was obviously for the English people in the beginning. So this Court of Appeal, if someone is not happy with the judgment, they can appeal. So this was called Sadr Nizamat Adalat, and it was also set up in Calcutta. And one more thing which was becoming famous this time was the name collector. So now we say district collector. So as the name says, that time in the beginning the job of the collector was to collect revenue and also taxes. And one more important job was maintaining law and order in a district. Even now, the same thing goes to a collector. And to do this, the collector took the help of judges, police officers, and also darogas. The darogas are the Mughal superintendent of police that time, similar to that. So they were of higher authority who were assisting the zamindars in maintaining law and order. So they were also helping the collectors this time. And the collector office, that is called collectorate, that also became a new center of power and authority that time. And it replaced the previous holders of authority who were under the Mughal rulers or other local rulers. So the British also wanted to have some changes in the army because that is very important for them to expand the territory. So earlier in the Mughal army, there were two types of soldiers. So one was cavalry, which was called savars. They are nothing but trained soldiers on horseback. So we say horse soldiers, no? So they were called cavalry or savars. The next is the infantry. This was called paidal. They are nothing but foot soldiers, soldiers who walk with weapons in their hand. So these soldiers, that is the cavalry as well as the infantry, they were given training in archery. This archery was called Tir Andazi, and also sword training was given. So the Mughal army mainly had only the cavalry, and for the foot soldiers, for the paidal soldiers, what they did was they used to recruit from the local zamindars. These zamindars, what they do is they in turn recruit from the local areas who used to be the armed peasants. So peasants here are nothing but the small farm holders as well as agricultural laborers who were dependent on farming, but they were not well off. So they were recruited as paidal soldiers. So this continued as a serious effect from 18th century. So what happened? From the Mughal Empire, we already saw Awadh and Benares and many other small territories were ruled separately. So these states under the rulers, they started to recruit peasants in their armies as soldiers. So these soldiers were nothing but the armed peasants from local areas. So the same method was even followed by the British East India Company, and these soldiers were called sepoys, and that was the sepoy army. Sepoy is nothing but the Indian word sipahi. And from 1820 onwards, there was a change in the warfare technology. That is, the British updated their weapons, because soldiers can't be using the same weapons as during this time the English was fighting the Burma, Afghanistan and Egypt war. So here the soldiers were given muskets and matchlocks. So muskets is nothing but a long gun. So we used to have 303, and now in the northern part of India, like in UP, these 303 were replaced now. A different assault rifle is given now. So earlier it was used for almost a century. The earlier version of this 303 was the musket. So it's a long gun rifle, and the other was matchlock. So it was a version of this musket. So muskets were of different varieties. So matchlock, flintlocks were there. So another variety was the matchlock, in which you have to ignite the gunpowder that was put into the musket. So this was the matchlock musket, another long rifle. So soldiers were given these type of weapons, and from 19th century onward, the British people tried to have a uniformity in the military culture as well, because in each region different versions of discipline or rules were followed. So they wanted a uniformity, a single rule in the army. So soldiers were given European style, the English style training, and a drill was there. For example, a medical emergency drill or a sudden war readiness drill were also given. Then there was a single discipline. Rules were there, like respecting your officers, higher officials, and also how you have to behave in the army, all those things. So these rules and regulations, the new rules and regulations, they sometimes created problems, started to hurt the caste and community feelings. So for example, a Sikh has to wear a turban, and the British asks you to only wear a hat. Then a Muslim has to pray for 5 times. They may not be allowed, and a Hindu belief person cannot cross the sea because of his religious belief. But to fight a war in Egypt, you have to cross the sea only. So what happens when a soldier's religious or caste feelings were hurt? Will he think whether I'm a soldier or a member of my community? So what happens when this emotion, feelings are hurt and they started to react, or they want to react? So this was reflected during the Great Revolt of 1857, the first Indian freedom struggle, about which we'll read in chapter 5. Continue to register your comments. Thanks for watching and supporting my channel.